What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Hooker versus Felder. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Priscilla, can't say her last name, versus Shanda Dotson. And to me, I feel like both these chicks are just okay at best. I think Priscilla's just a little bit better overall. She's got a better grappling game, that's for sure. They're both primarily strikers. I just feel like Sean is more of a power hitter and she doesn't have a ton of overall technique. And I think Priscilla, as long as she can kind of avoid the big haymakers, she should be able to win. And if she can get to the ground, I think she's got a massive advantage there. So I'm picking Priscilla to win either by decision or submission. Next, we got Maki Piloloto versus Takashi Sato. And to me, Maki, I want him to win. You know, he's from Hawaii. I hope he wins. But to me, he's just okay. You know what I mean? He's 12-5, and I feel like he's been knocked out. He's been submitted. And in his UFC debut, he lost to a guy who, in my opinion, is just mediocre. I think Takashi Sato, you know, if this is just a boxing match, it could go either way. But I think Takashi's going to be smart and use his judo. And I think if Takashi's on top of Maki, he's going to have a massive advantage. And that's what I see happening. I think they'll strike for a little bit, but I think eventually Sato's going to use his judo, get a takedown, and probably win by sub. You know, like I said, I hope Maki wins. I just don't see it happening. I got Sato winning by either round 1 or 2, sub from like a rear naked choke. Next, we got Loma Lumbuki versus Angela Hill. And to me, this is two really good strikers going at it. I think Loma is the much better striker. But I think the biggest issue with Loma is, you know, I feel like if it went to the ground, Angela Hill would have a massive advantage. And I think Angela Hill will take it to the ground. I think that, you know, Loma, she looked good in her debut, but it was a striking match the whole time. And the few times it did hit the ground, you know, she looked decent at getting back up, but she didn't look like she could do much more than that. And I feel like she wasn't fighting a great fighter. Angela Hill, to me, she should be on a 4-fight win streak. You know, she has that one decision loss to the Chinese chick who's fighting on the main card, but I thought she won it 2-1. I just think that fight was in China, and the decision went to the hometown person. And other than that, Angela Hill's looked amazing in her last 4 fights. Like I said, she's got 2 TKOs, 1 decision win, and 1 decision loss, which should be a decision win. And like I said, striking, Loma would probably win, but I think if Angela's smart and just forces us to the ground, she'll probably just win a decision, 30-27. Next, it's Kai Kara-France versus Tyson Nam, and this is another one where it's like, I really hope Tyson Nam wins, but I just don't see it happening. I feel like Kai Kara-France, you know, he's gone 13-2 in his last 15 since he moved to City Kickboxing. His 2 losses were 2 close split decision losses, or they might have been unanimous decisions, but they felt like split decisions to me. And, you know, Tyson Nam, he's looked better since he moved down to flyweight, but I just feel like this is an amazing striker in Kai versus a good striker in Tyson. And I also feel like Kai's got a big advantage in the wrestling if he chooses to use it, which he might. You know, Tyson Nam's got good takedown defense, and he does have 1-punch knockout power, so he can win, but I just feel like what happened when he fought Sergio Pettis is probably just going to happen in this fight too. I just think Kai's the much better striker with his overall technique and movement, and I think he's just going to dance around him for 3 rounds and win a decision. Next is Callum Potter versus Song Keenan, and to me, this is another fight where it's like a good fighter going up against an okay fighter, just like Sato versus Maki. I feel like Potter is an okay fighter. You know, I don't think he's amazing. I think Song is a really good fighter, and I feel like other than Potter forcing this to the ground and possibly getting a submission, I just don't see him beating him on the feet. And I don't think his wrestling is good enough to take Song down and just control him down there. Like I said, other than him catching him in a random submission, I feel like Song will be able to keep this on the feet and is eventually going to land the knockout shot. So I got Song winning by either round 1 or 2 KO. Next, we got Jake Matthews versus Emil Weber-Meek. And to me, Emil hasn't fought in like a year and a half, and he's a good striker with some ground game, but I don't like this long layoff. With Jake Matthews, you know, he's gone 4-1 in his last 5. He also took some time off. He was out for like a year, but he fought like towards the end of last year, so it hasn't been as long since he fought. There was like a year in between that and the fight where he lost. I can't remember who he lost to. To me, it's kind of like both these guys are good strikers. I feel like Emil has some decent overall wrestling and some submissions off the ground, but I think Jake's just way better everywhere on the ground. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think it'll be a close striking match, and I think Jake will eventually get it to the ground, and when he does, I think he's either going to just ride out the rounds to win the decision, or eventually he'll get like a rear naked choke or something. And I got Jake winning, like I said, either by decision or submission. Next is Jillian Turner versus Joshua Colombo. And to me, I think Joshua actually has a decent chance. I think Jillian has shown big weaknesses in the ground game. You know, he's like 8-5, and he doesn't have the greatest takedown defense. He's super athletic, and he kind of uses that to his advantage. But other than that, his ground game isn't amazing. And to me, I feel like Joshua is primarily a striker, but if he can get to the ground, I think he'll dominate. And My only concern is Joshua's taking this fight on a short notice, but I feel like as long as he minds his P's and Q's, he should probably win this, so I'm leaning towards Joshua to win by decision. Next, onto the main card is Kevin Aguilar versus Zabira. I can't say his last name. To me, Zabira looked like shit in his last fight, in all honesty. He looked like he was the much better fighter, and he gassed really hard. And it ended up being a draw, and I feel like he was lucky that it was a draw. And to me, if he's going to fight like that against Kevin Aguilar is going to run through his ass. And I just have to base his performance on his last fight. You know, he's never been a big power striker. He's only got like 4 or 5 wins by TKO, and he's primarily a striker. I think he has like 1 submission win. I feel like Kevin Aguilar, you know, even though he only has decision wins in the UFC, the vast majority of his wins are by knockout or TKO. The guys that he beats by decision are guys who pretty much have never been knocked out. I feel like Kevin Aguilar has great conditioning. He's not going to stop moving forward, and I think he throws with way more heat than Zabira does. I think the first round Zabira will win just because he'll be consistently out moving him. But I think once he starts to get tired, I think Kevin Aguilar is going to start to take over. I don't know if Kevin will finish him, but I think he starts to take over from round 2 and 3 and wins a 29-28 decision. Next, we got Brad Riddle versus Magomed Mustafa. And this is 2 really, really good strikers, really explosive strikers going at it. They're both got good takedown defense and offense. They both pretty much just use their wrestling defensively, though. It's really tough to pick this one because I feel like it's just whoever lands that big strike first is going to take it. I'm leaning towards Magomed just because I think he's a little bit faster. I think Riddle's probably a little bit better with his overall technique, but it's so close, this fight. Like I said, I think it's just whoever lands that big shot first is probably going to start to take over. And I'm just leaning slightly towards Magomed. Next, we got Ben Salalis versus Marcos de Lima. And to me, I feel like Ben Salalis is just a striker. I feel like Marcos, as long as he minds his P's and Q's, his only problem is he gets over-aggressive and he winds up in bad positions. If he minds his technique and just is smart about how he tries to take Ben down, I think he'll win by submission in the first round. I think he's way better on the ground, and I feel like he should be able to take Ben down if he, like I said, if he's just smart about it. So I got Marcos winning by first round sub. Next is Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jan. I can't say her last name. And to me, Jan is a good fighter, but like I said, I thought she lost her last fight to Angela Hill. She's primarily a striker with some wrestling. Both these chicks are kind of the same in that regard. They're both strikers with a little bit of wrestling offensively and defensively. To me, unless Karolina is completely shot, I feel like she should be able to outstrike Jan. If she's completely shot, then she's probably going to get cut after this. But I have faith that she's not completely shot, and I think she's going to edge out the decision. I think she's going to win at least 2 rounds to 1, and I think it's going to be striking the whole time, and I think she just edges it out. Next is Jim Crute versus Michael, can't say this dude's last name. To me, both these guys are good strikers. I would say Jim is the better grappler overall, but I think Michael's takedown defense is really good. To me, Michael, his last fight against OSP, I thought he was winning until he got taken down, and OSP's just really good on top, and he caught him with the Von Flue choke. I don't think Jimmy has the same type of wrestling and isn't quite as big as Ovens when it comes to like his overall width. I feel like this is going to be a striking fight for the most part, and I feel like Michael's just the much better striker. I don't know if he'll knock out Crute, but I feel like if Crute can't get this to the ground, I think Michael's just going to edge out all 3 rounds and win by decision with his better striking. Finally, we go to the main event, Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker, and to me, I feel like Dan Hooker should be a pretty big favorite in this fight. I feel like Paul Felder is ranked so high for almost no reason. I thought he lost his last fight pretty clearly, 2-1. I feel like if this fight's ever on the ground, Dan Hooker's got a massive advantage. He's the much better grappler. I feel like on the feet, it's pretty close. It could go either way. But Dan Hooker just destroyed fucking Ali Quinta in his last fight. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even close. And I feel like Ali Quinta and Paul Felder are about even. I think Al is just a little bit better, more boxing heavy, and Paul is more like Muay Thai. I just think striking-wise, it's close. But like I said, I feel like if this fight hits the ground, which it probably will, I think Dan Hooker's just we're gonna see him maul the crap out of Paul Felder. I don't think it's close on the ground at all. I think, like I said, I think Dan Hooker would beat him anywhere on the ground, and I think that's where it's gonna end up, and I think that's what we're gonna see. I think it's gonna be striking for a while. Hooker will eventually get a takedown, and once he's there, I think he's gonna either smash him with strikes or smash him with a submission. So I'm picking like a round 2 or 3 finish. I do think this will probably be fight of the night, but like I said, I think this the first time this fight hits the ground is probably gonna be the end. So I'm picking Hooker to win by either TKO or submission. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.